Title: The Silence Beneath. There was a spot in the ocean, miles off the coast, where nothing lived. Not fish, not plankton, not even algae. Sailors called it the quiet deep, though most avoided it altogether. The water there was unnaturally still, as if the ocean itself held its breath in fear of what lay below. Dr. Lydia Marsh, a marine biologist obsessed with discovering the unknown, had heard the stories. A patch of ocean where no sonar pinged, where research buoys sent no data, and ships that ventured too close reported strange malfunctions. Some said it was a dead zone caused by natural gases. Others whispered of ancient curses or creatures too terrible to imagine. Lydia didn't believe in curses. She believed in science. And the quiet deep called to her in a way no other mystery ever had. Armed with the latest submersible technology, Lydia convinced a research team to fund her expedition. It was supposed to be the first comprehensive exploration of the abyss, a chance to unlock the ocean's greatest secret. The day the team arrived at the site, the sea was eerily calm. The sky, too, was a flat, dull gray, with no wind, no birds, just a pressing, suffocating silence. Even the crew on the research vessel seemed uneasy, glancing at one another nervously. Lydia, however, was excited. She lowered herself into the cramped submersible, eager to see what the depths had hidden for so long. The submersible's descent was quiet at first, only the soft hum of the engine and the gentle creak of metal under pressure. But the deeper she went, the more the silence grew. It was a silence that wasn't just the absence of sound but something oppressive, almost tangible. Her ears rang with it, her skin prickling as though the ocean itself was watching. At 10,000 feet, the lights on the sub flickered. Lydia frowned but kept going. The ocean floor came into view, an endless plain of black silt, featureless and desolate. No coral, no fish, not even a rock. Just black emptiness as far as the cameras could see. Then, as the sub drifted over the abyss, her instruments failed. All at once, the sonar went dead, the pressure sensors flatlined, and the navigation system blinked out. Lydia's heart skipped a beat. She'd heard the stories, the myths of the quiet deep, but nothing had prepared her for the reality. She flipped switches, rebooted systems, but nothing responded. And then she saw it. At first, it looked like a shadow, something vast and shapeless, lurking just beyond the range of her lights. Lydia leaned forward, her breath catching in her throat as she strained to see. The shadow shifted, growing larger, or closer, it was impossible to tell in the murky darkness. And then she realized, with growing horror, that the shadow wasn't moving at all. She was. The sub was being pulled toward it. Slowly, steadily, as though the very ocean had gripped her and was dragging her into the dark. Lydia tried to reverse the thrusters, but they sputtered and died. Panic surged through her as the sub drifted closer to the shadow, the lights flickering violently now. And in the brief flashes of light, she saw it, a mouth. A mouth so vast it could swallow cities, its edges stretching beyond her field of vision. But this mouth was not made of flesh or teeth. It was the void itself, an absence of reality, a tear in the fabric of existence. The silence deepened, crushing, as though the world was being smothered by the weight of the dark. Lydia could feel it pressing on her chest, squeezing the air from her lungs. And then, from within the mouth, something moved. It wasn't a creature, not in any sense Lydia understood. It was nothingness given form, a writhing mass of void that twisted and spiraled, leaking into the ocean like ink. But it wasn't the darkness that terrified her. It was the eyes. Thousands of eyes, appearing and disappearing within the void, watching her, blinking in and out of existence, each gaze filled with ancient, unknowable hunger. Lydia tried to scream, but the sound died in her throat. The sub shuddered as the void reached out, tendrils of nothingness snaking through the water, wrapping around the sub, squeezing. The pressure gauges spiked, the metal groaning as the void tightened its grip. And then, the whispers began. They weren't voices in the usual sense, more like thoughts that weren't hers, flooding her mind. Thoughts of silence, of emptiness, of a hunger that had existed since before time itself. The eyes blinked again, focusing on her, seeing her, knowing her. She was no longer in control. The sub drifted forward, pulled inexorably toward the mouth. The walls of the sub groaned as the pressure increased, and Lydia knew it would collapse soon, crushing her into nothingness. But even that wasn't what terrified her the most. It was the realization that this thing, this ancient, unfathomable emptiness, was not hungry for her body or her soul. It was hungry for her existence itself. It wanted to erase her, to unmake her, to devour not just her life, but the very concept of her. And when it did, it wouldn't leave behind a body. It wouldn't leave behind a memory. There would be no record that Lydia Marsh had ever lived. And that was its true horror. The sub's hull began to buckle, the glass of the viewport spiderwebbing with cracks. The void's tendrils closed in, curling around the sub, ready to pull it into the mouth, into oblivion. Lydia reached for the emergency release, but her fingers were numb, the cold of the abyss seeping into her bones. She knew it was too late. The sub shuddered one final time as the tendrils tightened, the void swallowing her whole. And in the final moment, before the silence claimed her entirely, Lydia had one last, terrifying thought: the quiet deep was not a place. It was a hunger. A hunger that had just been awoken.